Hello everyone, my name is Alex from earnestalexreads, and today's video is about the 13 books that I read in January of 2020. So I have been getting a pretty decent amount of reading done, all things considered. I can't show you any of the books that I read, even though I read a lot of physical books this month, because they're all packed up because I'm moving. I feel like I'm saying this in every video, but it's like the biggest thing that's happening to me at the moment, so I'm just gonna talk about it a lot. Yeah, so like I said, I got a decent amount of reading done. I got 13 books read in the month of January in 2020. But enough rambling, let's get into some books. First book that I finished in 2020 was Saints and Misfits by S.K. Ali. I picked this book up originally because in August or April of 2019, I read Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali and really loved it and just felt really connected to the writing style and the subject matter, and it was just like, it was a quality read. So I went back and picked up S.K. Ali's first book, Saints and Misfits. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I still really enjoyed the writing style. I just wasn't as connected with the subject matter and the main character, and I found that just affected my enjoyment of reading it. I am really glad that this book exists. I think the subject matter of it is super important to talk about, but I'm super glad it was published. I'm super glad people can pick it up if they want to read it, because I'm sure a lot of people didn't give this book 3 stars, they gave it 5 stars, but that just wasn't my experience. But yeah, that was the first book I read. The second book that I picked up was The Weight of Our Sky by Hannah Alkaf. This book is set in 1969 during the race riots in Kuala Lumpur. The race riots of 1969 in Malaysia, I had no idea about. I went in blind. Something that I really appreciated about this book is that the first page in this book is basically an author's note saying, these are all the triggers. If you're not comfortable reading it, don't pick up the book. If you are comfortable, please enjoy. Or please, I guess it's not really an enjoying book because a lot of stuff happens. Pretty hard stuff happens, but I really appreciated that. I felt a lot more informed. I know that's, I guess this is a controversial thing, having trigger warnings, but I think it really just improves the reader's experience, because I kind of knew what to expect, but it wasn't spoiled, and I kind of had a mental check-in with myself and was like, can I read this right now? Do I think I could read this right now? Yes? Okay, let's go for it. And I thought that was really good. And I was happy that that was a thing in this book. It also has OCD rep, and a lot of stuff happened. It was very intense. It was very tragic, but I was really glad that I picked this book up. I gave it 4 stars. I think it was really well written, and I will be picking up more from this author. The third book that I finished in January of 2020 was The Starless C by Erin Morgenstern. This is my first book from her. She has only published The Starless C and The Night Circus, but I loved it. This was my first 5-star book, and so far only 5-star book of the year. I just fell head over heels in love with this book. It is so strange. It's so amazing. I love it because it's just a love letter to literature, and I just want to reread it already. I'm pretty sure I am going to reread it sometime this year, because it made me feel so happy and emotional hand. I can't really talk about it because it's so confusing, but also so amazing. Yeah, anyway, 5 stars. I then picked up The Summer of Jordi Perez by Amy Spalding. This is a YA contemporary set in the summer, and it evolves around the main character and her internship that she has really worked hard to get. She's kind of like a plus size fashion blogger. It's just like a summer romance between 2 girls, and I really enjoyed it. It was a great airplane read. Yeah, I really liked it. I really liked this book, and I gave it 4 stars. I then completed The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo because I decided to go through the KonMari method of tidying up and cleaning when it became apparent that we were moving into a new space and that we have so many things for 2 people. So I read that. I gave it 3 stars. I think it was very informative, but if I hadn't watched the TV show, like the Netflix show as well, and talked to my mom who has previously gone through the whole process, it wouldn't have been super helpful. So then I picked up her second book, which is Spark Joy, also by Marie Kondo. And that one was way more informative because it just like took you through all of the details that I had questions about. So I gave that one 4 stars because it was more useful to me. Then I picked up and completed The Female Persuasion by Meg Wolitzer. This is literary fiction about 2 women. I enjoyed this book. It had a lot of good points about friendship and long-term relationships that don't really pan out the way that people might be expecting it to. I thought it was a pretty good book, but I was pretty, like, emotion-wise, pretty lukewarm on it, and I ended up giving it 3 stars. I then picked up and completed Would Like to Meet. This book is like a adult romance, and the premise is that a woman has to convince a script writer that rom-coms aren't made up. They could happen. So she kind of recreates famous meet cutes from rom-coms to see if she like falls in love with somebody, and then she can be promoted at work. I really enjoyed it. I was very into it. I really liked the love interest. I just like the concept of how like crazy it is, but also how fun it is to imagine. I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 stars. I then listened to the audiobook of How to Be a Tutor by Ruth Goodman. This book is like her second in a series. She previously came out with How to Be a Victorian, and it's basically like her going through like from dusk to dawn everything in a tutor's life. She talks about the bread and how you would do your hair and what you would be wearing and like how much money you would get and all of this information about these eras. I preferred How to Be a Victorian. Maybe it was a bit more interesting to me. I found How to Be a Tutor at times very tedious. There are a lot of lists, and I gave How to Be a Tutor by Ruth Goodman 3 stars. The next book that I completed was Like a Love Story by Abdi Nazemian. This is a story set in 1980s. It is like YA love story set in the 1980s. It revolves around 3 protagonists and is written from the 3 points of views of these 3 characters. One of them is an Iranian boy who thinks that he might be who thinks he might like other boys. One of them is a rich, like the son of a banker in 1980s New York, named Art, and he is out and proud and angry because the AIDS crisis is going on and the third main character is Judy, who wants to be a fashion designer, is plus sized, and her uncle is slowly dying because of the AIDS crisis. I thought this book was really good. It did several things that I thought were really amazing, focusing on the AIDS crisis in 1980s New York, having this love story between two boys, like just the fear of everything that's going on, and also the anger. I thought that was really amazing. I thought it was great how much Madonna played a role in this book. There were a couple things that I didn't appreciate, or didn't sit well with me. There was basically no talk of women, and there was no other exploration of, I don't know, the LGBTQIA plus community, besides a couple mentions of drag queens, which I thought that aspect of the whole story could have been expanded upon, but wasn't. All in all, I gave this book 3 stars. I think people should pick it up if they're interested in it, and yeah, I'm glad that I finally read it, because I've been wanting to since before it came out. I then picked up Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is a bit of a departure for me because it is a YA mystery series set in a boarding school and there's kind of dual timelines, one in the 1930s and one in present day, all surrounding a murder and the solving of this famous murder, and everything's interconnected. I really liked it. I gave it 3 stars. I immediately had to go on to the second book in this series, which is The Vanishing Stairs by Maureen Johnson. I liked that one even more and gave 4 stars. And the last book that I completed in the month of January 2020 was There's Something About Sweetie by Sandhya Menon. This is the third, I think her third book. It's the second one in the When Dimple Met Rishi universe, and I really super enjoyed it. I think it might be my favorite of her books. I'm not sure. I just really liked it. There was like, there was a lot of body positivity and like dealing with growing up, being fat and all of that kind of cultural and societal pressure, and like how do you cope with being okay with your own body and thinking it's powerful and loving your own body and then having to defend that to everybody in your life. And that I really appreciated and really kind of touched me in an emotional way, but also it was just extremely cute and a wonderful love story. Yeah, so I'm really glad that I picked that up. I gave it 4 stars. So those were the 13 books that I read in January. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having an amazing day and reading an amazing book, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!